One word, one future. There's been a lot of talk about crypto being adopted on the individual level, but does cryptocurrency have a future in enterprise? Here to talk to us all about crypto adoption in enterprise is Simon Engel from SAP. Please give it up for Simon.
Hello, perfect, it's working. So thanks for the great introduction. As said, it's really also a topic, how do enterprises adopt actually crypto and Ethereum. So I'm here to share a little bit my point of view as a product manager for payments on what I see actually for the enterprise space and how they do adopt crypto solutions. I'm part of SAP since 8 years. I have seen some things. Worked as board assistant, I'm currently product manager.
No worries.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
All the juices and anything you might want.
To start with, you and I, we are running a marathon. Why do I believe this? Because we believe in a new paradigm of deploying software. Maybe a few see, like in this community, but not everybody. Like we're still far away from mass adoption. And in order to prepare for a marathon, it's really also important to know, hey, where are we in the cycle? And I really do want to look a little bit also in the past and to the future and how enterprises could and should adopt maybe crypto. So this is maybe a very, very basic slide, but enterprise software and enterprises have adopted software in many different ways. If you look on the left side, like the most basic thing you could think of is pen and paper. Like this was when accounting started. Maybe some German ministry is still using pen and paper, but I would say most companies are already like moving to the cloud. Then there was this on-premise area. Hey, you had one license, you could deploy it on your own premise, and you run the software to actually run your company and the business processes. So it made accounting much more efficient, real-time, and better. And now I think we're currently really in this era of having cloud resources, sharing databases and stuff, and using this to make business processes much, much more efficient. So question arises, hey, enterprise software evolved, we had different models, what might be the next? And the next one, for me, is really on-chain, Web3, if you think about it. And this is maybe really the most exciting part about it. Software evolve, and with every new deployment model, you get new benefits. So, one thing I experienced, at least at SAP, because we had a really strong install base, also on-premise, and we needed to move this install base to the cloud. This is not easily done. Enterprise processes need a lot of change management, and also enterprises do, because you can just not simply rip out a piece of software and deploy new code. So we actually needed to build bridges, and I think the same needs to happen if you do want to move actual enterprises to on-chain using crypto solutions. So you really need to build bridges, make them smooth, and make them desirable. So the question is also, what makes enterprises move on-chain in any way? And this is really a very basic product management framework. Most should know it. But it's really good to explain, hey, where are we and what are also maybe challenges at the moment. So at one pillar, there's the desirability. Is there a solution that is on-chain better and creates business value than the solution we actually currently have at the moment? The second pillar is the feasibility. Is this solution also scalable and technically working for an enterprise with a lot of transaction? And the third one is a little bit more going into the business model of the viability. Can I, as a software vendor, actually have a sustainable business model with it and maintain the code base? Because it does not simply help deploy the code, I go out of business, and the enterprise running it does not have anybody who supports the code base. So let's have a look at those like 3 tailwinds and where I see we currently are at the moment. On the desirability, I'll just pick one example. I think there are many more. But what gets really interesting at the moment is stablecoins. Why? Because for an enterprise, it's hard to use a token which is very volatile. So stablecoins are the choice. And why do I believe they also found a use case in usability? Because if you look at the chart, 70% of on-chain transactions are actually done with stablecoins, while stablecoins are only 10% of the market cap of the crypto market. What does this mean? If I translate it back to the cloud world, in the cloud world, if your enterprise, your customer did not consume your software, it's very likely it will churn 3-6 months down the road and not use your software anymore. Same here. I see transaction as utility and as an indicator, hey, we found a use case where people are willing to pay for transactions on a blockchain. And very simple use cases at the stablecoin area is really, it's value transfer, it's simple payment, but it's also a store of fiat value. The other pillar, feasibility. If you look at Ethereum, and I think like the Duncan upgrade made a very good progress, it's becoming actually cheap and very competitive to run transactions on Ethereum on an L2. And with Duncan, I think we even saw like cost reduction of up to 90%, which makes it really competitive. So if you compare it to actual credit card network fees, like a Visa, a MasterCard, they usually charge maybe 2% of the actual value plus 8 cents per transaction. On average, after Duncan with L2s, per transaction, you have 2 cents, maybe even less. So it really becomes also for a business, a valid business case, to use this distributed database in a way to make transactions work and payments. On the viability side, I think we're here at ETH Bucharest. So Ethereum is really the prime example for it. You can make money with it. So it's, I would say it's proven protocols are viable. You can create revenue. I think in the last 30 days, Ethereum made 600 million, could be even more. I think the data is from last week. Just in revenue, which proves people are willing to pay for block space because they have a use case somewhere. Also on the other side, if you look at profits and how you look at companies and value them, you can also do the same calculation for Ethereum. So it made around 300 million in profit in the last 30 days, and profits attract companies. So let's have a look at maybe one example, which is from Coinbase and with Base, and I think the business model is really smart. If you think about a Web2 company, which Base is, it's built on cloud software, you spin out on L2 to create this bridge I was talking about. How do you get retail on-chain if you have your own L2? And it's also good business. I think in the last 30 days, they made also 11 million, which is quite good for a very young protocol. And this is also proving, hey, we can deploy and develop hybrid models in bringing, first of all, retail on-chain, but second of all, why shouldn't this model also work for enterprise? Are there options how we can create hybrid models in moving enterprises on-chain? So in my opinion, like the 3 dimensions are closer than ever. The overlap actually over there is getting bigger and bigger. And why do I believe this? Because we have 4 use cases at the edge of the sweet spot at the moment. And for me, this is currently where we are really looking into it. This is cross-border payments. It's NFT management for loyalty and community. It's also supply chain tracing and remote worker payroll. So now the question is, what is SAP actually doing here, right? We're a big company. We're really a cloud company. But still, we believe there are solutions we can develop that help actually enterprises. One of those is the SAP Digital Currency Hub. It's currently in beta phase. And the use case is really to make cross-border payments for companies much easier. Second piece, and this is already live, you can buy it if you want today, it's called SAP Green Token, and the use case is really cross-company collaboration on a supply chain level to see that, let's say, your organic palm oil is really also organic, and trace it through the whole supply chain. And the third one, also currently in development, is the SAP NFT management, where you can create communities, have an NFT drop, use it even in your online shop, getting discounts, these kind of use cases. So Simon, hey, you're saying basically we solved some stuff, so where's the mass adoption? Like when Moon, when Lambo? And we need to have a very differentiated view on it. Because the product problem for the enterprise is actually becoming a go-to-market problem. And if you see at the chart, like you and I, we're really still stuck with the innovators and early adopters at the enterprise level. And there is this big gap, the chasm, we still need to cross. And like in a good marathon, you already look ahead and try to figure out, hey, where do I need some energy? What problems may arise? So let's have a look at why do I believe we're still with the innovators and early adopters, plus how could we actually start preparing crossing the chasm for the next wave of enterprises. This is the reason. I think there was a very good survey by Casper Labs in 2023, State of Enterprise Adoption, and they interviewed a bunch of enterprises. Hey, what would increase your likelihood to adopt blockchain? And 50% of the companies said, hey, we need to learn more how peers are actively using this technology. So they're really looking into the competition and the peers in industry, how it could help them. 47% said, I still need to learn more about blockchain. I have no clue how this technology works and what it does. I need help. And 43% still lack the understanding of the technology and the business value it can actually bring to the enterprise and the enterprise processes. So the headlines for me here was really, it's a lack of reference where enterprise don't adopt blockchain. It's missing education and enablement, and it's also the wrong product messaging. So if you look at the chasm, so remember the big gap, we are, and this is also what I see, we are transitioning from those innovators, early adopters, to the early majority. And the buying centers, so executives, CIOs, they already start asking, hey, do you have good references? How is my peer doing it? Where do they deploy the technology? What value did they get? And they will only accept references from peers, and this makes it a little bit a problem. How do you get those peers to be your reference? And the solution is you need to go really, really niche and make it comparable to a solution they already know. Let's make an example. For online shops, every CIO knows, okay, I have an online shop and maybe there's a discounting solution. Now you can go in and say, hey, we have a discounting solution, but it's using an NFT, so you can actually create a community, and every time your retail customer logs in, uses the NFT, he gets a discount. This is much more understandable for a general CIO who does not have time to really learn about blockchain and then also create the business value. Second point, education and enablement. Executives and buying centers, like, they need to be able to safely use blockchain technology. It's still hard. Like personally, I'm in the space since 2018, and if I need to transact like still a large amount of money per wallet, I still sweat because the UX sucks. It's still bad. You can still need mistakes. And the same is for executives. Like, why should they use this technology if no one actually can safely use it? Plus, every new technology cycle, if you think like from pen and paper, on-premise, cloud, now on-chain, creates new habits how you actually use this technology. My personal example in the cloud world was a little bit, hey, I can drop a file in the cloud and the provider will take care of it, of the backup. I don't need to take care of it anymore like I did in the on-premise world. But on the other side, I also needed to learn if I have confidential data, I don't drop it in the cloud because maybe the provider can look at it. Same needs to happen for on-chain. It's really a change management process for the enterprise in figuring out how can I safely use this technology to create the business value I need. And this is simply, it takes time. If I look at the big companies today, some of them are still using on-premise, so don't expect them to make the move from on-premise to on-chain in 5 years. No, they will still take a step in between to the cloud and then can start moving on-chain. And this is why I still believe we have a marathon. And the third piece, it's really about the product messaging. I think we have a lot of technology enthusiasts and Ethereum enthusiasts here. I am myself because I still believe in this technology. But we need to change the product messaging to the enterprise. Executives and businesses don't care it's built on Ethereum. They simply don't care. Like, you can use Ethereum, you can use a database, you can use trained monkeys. They don't care. They just want the outcome you promised them. So you need to get much more quantitative in your solution and what benefits it brings you or the enterprise. And this is really a call to action, maybe to the community. If you try to sell to enterprise, skip the crypto-centric part and go more into the outcome-centric part. And this is really my last key call to action. Keep building, but also educate your families, friends, and businesses, and challenge for business outcomes. If you do want to catch the enterprise, you need to figure out what is the enterprise really looking for. And with that, this is a little bit also my personal mission. I really try to educate executives through my role. I have the pleasure to work with them, but I need your help. I still don't know what major problems they have, or if you sold to enterprise, what question do they have? How can we educate them to actually trust blockchain and make the solution accessible? So if you have just 2 minutes, take the survey, give me a little bit of help, would highly appreciate it. And with that, if you have any questions, just ping me. I think I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, I have a small blog. Or also just email, grab me after this one. And I'm happy to answer anything and also what SAP is doing in this space. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I think we still have 2 minutes left. Over there.
Okay, it's about culture. Does SMP have the culture necessary to understand deeply the space and recruit from like these crypto native circles and really have an impact in this industry, or it's a culture compatibility question?
Very good question, actually, because this is also what I believe software vendors need to learn. In the cloud world, it's really about getting key talent and getting them to deploy content like a lot. In the whole Web3 community, it's a lot about community and how can you actually contribute to the protocols and the community and the developers, educate them. And this is also one reason why I'm here, right? We need to first be part of this community and start creating value, share what we see in our space, to then also get the right developers that might want to contribute to SAP's mission with blockchain solutions. I hope this helps.
It's a little bit challenging. So, for example, I don't know, the SAP HR department. when they get an application from a crypto native, do they have any clue at what they're looking?
I think yes. If we have like open roles for crypto, yeah. And I think like occasionally we also have roles, so I can just recommend apply to them. And our HR, sure, they know what they're looking for if we have this role open. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense.
I submitted a question, but now I understand it's a lot because it was 1 hour early, which is fine. It's now.
One other question?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Alex from Secret Labs. I wanted to ask you about whether you feel the enterprise sees a problem with the radical transparency of the most prevalent blockchains today, and how, if at all, they feel about that.
They do. They do. It's not per se having like a payment transaction visible, but it's more per se a question of, hey, do I want to know my competition, what volume I bought from which supplier at which rate? And this is still a problem. So I think just the examples here, there's still also product things we need to fix. Privacy is one of those. I'm quite bullish on zero knowledge proofs and fixing this. But it's still a thing why enterprises are hesitant adopting this solution, because they simply do not want the privacy. I think one positive aspect, when this whole enterprise thing started, it was really about permissioned blockchains and how can you only accept invited suppliers. I think this notion changed. It's much more public now, but this also creates other friction points in how can you actually secure and make those transactions more private.
Yeah, a permission blockchain is just a database, right? So it doesn't make any sense, really.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think it would be great if we can chat a little bit after this.
Thank you.